and minimize this. Okay, so we're going to be doing Google Sheets today. I have an agenda out here. If you go to the home page and you go to departments in information technology, you have technology integration right here. Under webinars, this is where the recordings are. You can scroll down to the agenda, which is right here in Google Sheets, and you're going to need that. And I'm just gonna put this in the link in the box, chat box, which is somewhere. Okay, so in the chat box, I shared the Google Doc with you because we're going to be working through this. This is definitely something you're going to want to do. And just so everybody knows, I invited Greg into my session because I know that he is one of the data kings in our district, so he can give us any advice or help answer any questions at the end. So the first, the title at the top is actually a link to your practice sheet. So we're going to go ahead and have you click on the practice sheet. Rachel or Andrea, would you copy and paste that agenda again into the messages because we just had some people come in?
Done.
Thank you. So this is the sheet that we're going to be practicing on. The first sheet that we're going to do is actually, we're going to talk about formatting. Like a lot of people can type data in here. You're gonna number the first row, and always please make sure you put titles on here. So I would put like date, and I would put last name, first name, things like that across the top. So you want to make sure that you have titles across the top. If you're numbering something in a sequential order, you're going to notice if I type 1, 2, and I'm going to make this bigger. I think you should be able to see that. How's that? And I start numbering 1, 2, 3. If you drag your corner here, if I just drag it, do you see it just copies exactly what I have in my box? But if you, and I'm going to undo what I just did because I don't want to do that. If I select, if I just write 1, 2, and I just get to 2, and then I drag the corner, it should start to automatically number for me. I love that. I love that I don't have to actually type a number in every single one, but you have to do the first 2. So if I go back, it's the same thing for if I would have January, and I would select the first 2. You're going to grab the little corner box and you're going to drag, and it will actually start putting the months in for you. It will do that for anything that will be in some kind of order. So if you had years in here, 2010, and you wanted to drag down 2011, it will start automatically numbering columns for you. Huge time saver for me. Love that. Another thing is you can see that I made these large. So when I type January, February, that they may or may not fit in the box. If I select this column, you have this magic text wrapping right here. I love it. If I do that, it will wrap my text around into 2 rows. So sometimes I have 2 rows, sometimes it'll just keep going and you don't understand why your words just keep going into the next column. You want to use that text wrapping. It is magical. I love it.
Nicole says, boom, I'm already excited. That was awesome, Tiffany.
I know, it's the little things in life that people don't tell you. The other thing is sometimes when you make a table and then let's say I want to print this once I make it, all these boxes, they're clear. There's no set borders on here. And sorry, I have this tab here. I gotta hit cancel. So I don't want that. I actually need borders. If you select this corner right here, it selects every single cell in your sheet, and you actually have a borders, and it will put borders in every single cell that you have on here. I can undo that. If I don't want the whole sheet, let's say I only want this first column, maybe that whatever I select, I can add a border to, and it will only add a border to the area that I'm selecting. So it doesn't have to be the whole sheet. You could just want to select this area for borders, and it helps when you're printing. If you select an area to add your borders, it will choose that area to print. Sometimes at the top, you want to make these headings a little fancy. They give you this really nice text rotation here that will slant it for you. Now you can see I slanted it and you can't see it. You're going to need to make sure that you grab this little sidebar that's underneath the number 1. You'll see I have this little arrow over here. If I slide it down, I'm going to make it as long as I want. And now my top row is like tilted. It's rotated, so it looks kind of fancy. I'm very fancy now. But that will just make it a little bit more. If you want to step it up even one more notch, you have your fill color. You can actually choose a color, and now your titles are a different color than the rest of your form. And that's called cell fill. Sometimes you just want to put a heading at the top. So let's say that I want to put something above this. I made these, but I want a title on this. If I right click on the number on the left, the cell, I can insert a row above. Now when I insert my row above, it tries to copy what I had before. So I'm going to reset everything that I have up here, and I'm just going to write Youngstown City Schools. You
Tiffany,
can see, yes.
we had a question. How did you get it tilted again?
Okay, so I'm going to select the cells that I want, and I'm going to go over to this A that's pointing up. It says text rotation, and I'm going to pick the one that I want. So I just picked the second one, which is tilt up. You can also have tilt down. You can have straight up and down. Yep. Now you can see that this particular cell, this is when I did some wrapping. If I didn't wrap that, you can see that this one cell goes across all of them. Now, one thing I tend to forget, and I don't know if anybody else forgets, that I'm actually typing up here at the top. I'm not actually typing in the cell. I'm not correcting this cell. Your font is up here in this little box at the top. So if I wanted to add something, I would probably go up here. So if this is overlapping over another cell, I could click in B, but look, I don't have anything in B. If I click in C, I don't have anything in cell C. But if I click in A, that's where my text is. Sometimes people will come in, they'll see a heading and want to change it, but they start clicking and they can't figure out where this text is. You have to look up here at the top corner to find where your text is, where somebody typed. Now, if I want to take all of this and I want to make it a heading across all of these rows, I have this amazing, it's merge. Where's my merge at? Here it is. Merge. And I want to merge all of these together. It should merge and center. Center. So now my title, all of these cells at the top are just one cell. There isn't any individual cells underneath. You can see I can't click in E, I can't click in D, I can't click in C. I only have one cell. I guess I should have said this before I started. I'm sorry. You're going to want to go over to File and make a copy so you can do this. I'm going to give you a minute. So you're going to go to File and you're going to make a copy for practice, and you're just going to hit OK. And it's going to have my changes on there right now, but I really want you to manipulate this if you're not. So if you haven't already done that, I want you to go ahead and make a copy. I have to apologize. I can't believe I didn't say that in the beginning. So merge is one of the things that I like, because now this is only one cell and I don't have to worry about where it is. When I click up here, the whole title goes across every single column that I'm using. Now, the other thing is maybe I want all of these rows to be equal. And right now, these 1 and 2, my rows are really big, and 3, 4, 5, all of these are small. If I want them to be all the same size, if I select them and you use the shift key, it makes them all the same size when you let go. So if you hold down your shift key and you grab any of the lines in between your numbers, wherever you set that, it makes all of them the same size. So now all of your cells are the same size, and you don't have to worry about trying to make them all the same size. So if I drag just one, I'm only changing the size of one cell. And if I want them all the same, you just want to make sure you select them all and you make them all that size. Now, say for example, I don't want 1 and 2 to change, but I want 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 the same size. I should be able to select those, and now 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, those cells are the same size. So resizing cells to me is huge. I like to be organized and have everything the same size. It works the same way across the top for the columns. So if I would pick these columns, these set of columns, and go in between and spread them out, they're all equal now. They're all the same size columns. Okay, so we have any questions about formatting? Now I can tell you that if you are typing in a cell sometimes and you're trying to make money, sometimes, see how it's not making money for me? It just puts the number 2, but I want this to actually be money. When you go into your cells, you can go in and where this number is and decide what you want it to be. So if I want it to be currency and I can have it rounded to just the dollar, I'm going to go up to where the 1, 2, 3 is, and I'm going to make it currency. So now it's $2. And it recognizes that this is money and not a decimal. Is there a question?
Do you go to the center to make the columns the same size?
So if you select all of your cells, it doesn't matter which border line you pick. So I can pick the line in between F and G and move it, and it changes all of them. I can pick it in between A and B. Any of the lines that I choose in the selected columns will change to the same size. You don't have to be necessarily in the center. Is that the question? I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question.
Thank you.
Okay. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so that's kind of a little one on just formatting. There's also themes out here that you can use if you want. I don't usually get into that. So if you wanted certain columns, certain colors, it will do that for you. I just like to do my own. So I really don't get into that. That's more of a advanced class. So if we get into advanced class, we'll go there. But that is an option if anybody wanted to know that you wanted to make every other line a different color. So that is an option. So down at the bottom of your sheet, you're going to see I have different tabs down here. I'm going to want you to click on the tab that says filter at the bottom. So this is a bunch of data that I've gathered for you that we're going to start to sort and filter and kind of learn to use it. And filter is the first one for some reason, but we're gonna do sort anyways. So this age column, all of these numbers are in random order. If I wanted to sort this into a column where I wanted them in numerical order, I would click on the little arrow that's at the end of the column. So in column B, there's a little arrow if I hover over, and I can sort this from A to Z. Now, here's a problem. It sorted it, but my heading is gone. That drives me crazy. So I love my magical undo button. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first row that I have here and under view, sorry. I'm going to freeze one row. Now I can do 2 rows. I can do the current row that I'm on. I'm going to do 1 row at the top. So now I can see my top row actually has this gray line underneath it. So if I go back over to B and I hit this little drop down arrow again, and I'm going to sort it from A to Z, it leaves my headers in there at the top. It doesn't sort those also and move them around. So freezing your column at the top is very, very important. So now I have all of my students in order by age. If I wanted to add another filter on, I could go back into gender, and now I'm going to sort it from A to Z. Come on, I get to select, sorry. Boop. And it should let me. Why can't I find it? I just did this. Am I looking in the wrong place? I know I'm not. I know I can sort these in a range. All right, I'm going to come back to that because it'll pop back into my head, because you can sort these and it usually says sort range and it will do more than one column for you. Come on.
Click on data, Tiff.
It's under data. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Sort my range. So now I can choose the rows I want to sort. So I'm going to sort B first, and then I'm going to sort C in ABC order. And my data has a header row. So I'm going to sort by age and then by gender. I'm going to make sure I put that in there. Oh, I do have the word data in there. I don't know why I wasn't looking for it. So now I have them in order by age, and then the second is their gender. So you can do more than one row also when you're looking at your data and you're filtering it. Interesting, it has the GPA over here at the end. I like that. Okay, so that's kind of the sorting that I wanted to go over, and you can sort ranges. Do we have any questions about sorting? I use it all the time. We use it all the time in our department. We filter and sort things all the time. So we're just going to click on the next box. I know it says sort, but we're going to pick it. They're exactly the same. We're going to do filtering on that one because that's what's next on my agenda. So you have this amazing little filter icon here that has all these little things that you can do. I love filter because it filters out and I can only see the information I want. So if I only want to see students that are 11, if I go over and create a filter, it gives me this little filter icon right in the header row. When I click on it, I can clear everything, and let's say I only want to see the 11-year-olds. Now I can give that data to somebody without them seeing the other data that's behind there. So I could copy and paste this information into another sheet, and somebody could view this data without viewing other information on students in a different grade. If I want to do multiple in my filter, say I want to see students that are 10 or 11, 12, and 13. Now I have those range of students that are in a table that I can manipulate. You can have,
Tiff,
yes.
We have a question from Tracy. It says, if you only sort by one area, do all the others adjust?
Yes, they do. It's automagical. I love it. It takes all the other columns and sorts them in the same by rows. So they're all the same. All the data that was in this row is the same.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to take the filter off. If you want, you can select the corner and you can put a filter in every single one. So now I have a filter in every single column that is up here. So first I can filter by age, and then I want to filter by who is having breakfast, having a small breakfast. Now I can see just those students that come to our school that are having a small breakfast. If I want to see the kids that they're all eating breakfast, I can view all the kids that are eating breakfast. If I want to see the kids, I can clear that and seeing they're eating no breakfast, I can go in and see that information also. So this is great for if you're collecting data in a survey, or you even have a lot of students that you're giving a Google form to, and you want to find all the kids that answered A. You can filter this and just see all the kids that answered A, or all the kids that answered B in one shot by filtering the rows. Is there another question? Just because it's popping up at the bottom.
Greg just asked auto magical.
That's my new word for today, is auto magical.
I just said it's Tiffany's world. That's
And
all.
no, and here's why I'm saying that. There is actually an extension which we did yesterday. It's called Automagical, that will take a PDF and turn it into a Google Doc. So I'm so impressed by that. It's my new word. So I'm just going to hit none. I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn all of those filters off. And it returns your form exactly like it was before. Now, it saves those filters. So the first filter I had on was only for age. It's still in there, and it still has the filter that I saved for 11, 12, and 13. The last setting I had on. If I want to go back and look at filter 2 that I had saved, now those are all those kids that ate nothing for breakfast. So it will actually save your filters. You can name these and go back and review them later. So you can say, oh, these are the kids that passed the air with proficient. And then you can actually click on each of those filters and review that data again. You don't have to keep going back and creating a new filter to look for the same data. So one of the other things that I have in here under right after filter is find and replace. And I'm going to tell you, this is my favorite. If you learn nothing else today and somebody gives you a spreadsheet like this with data, this is my favorite way to find data. If you hit Control F, I'm on a Mac, so I'm hitting Command F, and I'm looking for a student's name. And let's say I want to find student ZZ. It will actually locate that person for you in the sheet. And they're at cell 52. So I would have, if you have 800 kids in your school and you're looking for a certain kid in a spreadsheet and you're going down, 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 just hit Control F and they will find whatever you're looking for in your sheet. I love this. This definitely helps when we share information with people on Chromebooks or iPads. If you need to find a serial number and you start to type in this serial number, it will find it for you in the spreadsheet. So if you take nothing else away, take find, Command F or Control F. Just make sure that you do it when you're in the sheet. If you are clicked at the top and you hit Command F, it's not going to be in the sheet. It actually searches the internet. So that's my only bit of advice. Some people don't let a page load and they're actually in the URL at the top. So just be careful.
Tiffany, Cheryl has a question.
Sure.
Is this the form to use if you want a CVS form?
So CVS is a certain kind of form that you will have to put data in or take data out of. You can do all of these things inside that form, but Greg can just make sure I'm saying this right. That's a specialized form usually for websites, how they want you to insert data to them.
Yeah, Tiff, if you don't mind me jumping in. Cheryl, I think you mean CSV.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And, CSV is very similar to a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet, except a CSV is one sheet where if you look at Excel or Google, there's multiple sheets per technically like a workbook. CSV eliminates those extra sheets. It's just looking at one flat. And so, yeah, a lot of websites use it. A lot of data input pieces use that as well.
But if somebody shares that with you, you can do all of these functions inside of there without any problem. Is that correct, Greg? It still works the same way, I believe.
Mostly, yeah. For the purposes of what we as educators would use, yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Cheryl says thank you.
Yep. Now you also have find and replace. And I'm just saying, I've used this before because every once in a while I will spell something wrong or do something like that. So I'm going to give you an example. So say I'm looking for the word morning, and I want to replace this with early instead of morning. You can choose, it's going to search the whole sheet. If you don't want it to, you can do a specific range. So if I only want morning in alert time, or I only want morning in sleepy time, I would just choose that area. But if I'm going to match it, I can hit replace all, and it will do the whole sheet. And every time it sees the word morning, it's going to change it to early. So I don't have to go into every cell and fix a word. So if you have a student's name multiple times in a worksheet and you've spelled it wrong, you can find it and replace it all in one giant sweep without trying to find every single cell that word may or may not be in. Now it even tells me at the bottom, I've replaced 84. I can tell you I had a problem one time with this, and I don't know if Greg can attest to this or not. I had a word, and I can't remember what it was, but it was part of somebody's name, and it actually replaced that person's name because it was inside, those letters were inside that person's name, and it replaced that name also. So you just have to be careful. Sometimes you want to look at them before you replace them all. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to say every time you see the word early, you're going to replace it with the word morning. And if I hit replace all, it's going to go back, and now everywhere it said early, it now says morning. So find and replace is nice if you're working with a lot of data and you want to change it to the same thing. Do you have any questions on find and replace?
Where is that find and replace?
So find and replace, if you just want to find, it's the Command F button. If you want to find and replace, it is under Edit, and it's find and replace right here. Now, all of these have keyboard shortcuts, but I can tell you I can't remember all of them. I just use the ones that I use the most, but it does give you what the keyboard shortcut is. Is there any more questions?
Nope, she just said thanks.
Okay, so you have another tab at the bottom that's called conditional formatting. This is really, really nice. And actually in the document I shared with you, the title is a link to an article by Alice Keeler. And Alice Keeler is like a Google guru. She's crazy Google. Some people say that she doesn't sleep, that all she does is Google. She gives a lot of ideas on how she uses this in her classroom. But I'm going to choose the column F that says sleepy time. And I'm going to say that I want to talk about everybody that goes to sleep in the morning. I want to be able to identify that. So if I click on format, I have this conditional formatting. And if you're a color coding person, this is for you. So I want to go into this cell, and I'm going to change the rule here. The rule is if it contains text exactly. So if it contains the word morning, I'm going to make it green. So now I can see that all of the students that go to sleep in the morning, I can add another rule. So think about this. If you were trying to identify, and you wonder how people identify kids that are proficient, advanced, basic, you could go over here and add these rules and color code them. And now it's going to be easier for you to find. So if I say the text says afternoon, I'm going to change the color to red because, oops, I'm sorry, I changed the text. Sorry, wrong. I needed to go to the bucket, the color bucket. Go to the bucket. So now my afternoon people are red and my morning people are green. And maybe my evening people are going to be yellow. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to choose evening. And I'm going to go to my bucket, of course, and I'm going to make those yellow. So now all of my students are identified by color coding where they are. So if you have basic, proficient, advanced, intermediate, however you want to identify students and you like color coding, here you go. You like to have color coded folders? Well, here's a way to color code data inside of a spreadsheet. I'm also going to do another rule. This rule is if the cell is empty. So maybe I want to identify all the kids that have no data. So if I go in there and I make that cell and I'm just going to choose, I paint bucket black. So now I see all of those cells that have no data that I now need to go back and maybe test, or I need to go back and make sure they fill out that part of the survey. So now my whole column is color coded and it's easier for me to read. I really like color coding, and you can set rules. So in other words, for GPAs, I can go in and say anybody that has a number greater than or equal to, and I think I can put in, what is it, 3.54. Let me see. I think I gotta do 2 dots. Come on. Where's it at? Is between. There we go, 3.5 and 4.0. Sorry, it's is between. Now, every single cell that's between 3.5 and 4.0, those are going to be your honor roll students. And they're all going to be in green, and they're going to color code them for you. If I want to do another rule, and I want to do, this is going to be the between. Okay, if it's between 3.49 and 3.0, they're going to be yellow. Oh, I did the text again. I'm sorry. It's the bucket. I want the bucket. So now all those students might be honorable mention. So this is how I could color code a list of students to identify how I want to recognize them. Now, the other thing that's really nice in here, if you want to know what I do, is that if I have a column, and Greg's probably going to tell me this isn't the best way to do it, you could probably do it a different way, and I have the students over here, but I want to recognize them, I can actually drag and drop this over here and just see A is going to be honor roll. This person is nothing. This person is honorable mention. This person. So now I can drag and drop them. And then when I'm done with the data, I just hit the back button and I put it back. That's my hack, because that's how I know how to use it and I like it. And I can move this data around into columns that I want to see. I don't know if there's a better way to do that, Greg, but that makes it easier for myself when I want to see it. But
I just added in the text, you could always hide columns too, if that's what you want to do.
yeah, you can hide columns, but I don't necessarily want to hide the data. So, and you can bring it back. So if I think I can select all of these and right click and see, it says hide columns right here. So now I can hide them and they're next to each other. But you can see there's these 2 little arrows here that I can, let's see if I can click on them. There you go. If you click on them, it pops open what you had behind the 2 arrows, what you hid. So that's just another way that you can do it. So like I said, you're just going to right click and you're going to hide the column and it will just put them next to each other. You just have to remember to go back in and open it back up. So that's just another way. Any questions on conditional formatting?
I don't see any yet.
Okie dokie. We're going to move to the next column, tab at the bottom, which is functions. So this is a big spreadsheet that somebody had shared with me a long time ago, and all this information is just random. None of it really matches anything. It's random people that were part of technology and their salaries apparently many, many moons ago. But what I wanted to use this for is there's already a filter on here. So I'm just gonna, I wonder if I can take it off for a second. I want to take it off for a second. I'm sorry.
Cheryl says it's snowing outside.
At my house, just so we know, it's raining. I can't hear that. I'm covering my ears right now. So sometimes people send you information, and in the information, their first and last name may be in the same column. Maybe they only send you their email information, but you want to have their information in separate columns. So if I'm trying to create a list of people in alphabetical order, but all I get sent is their email, I may want to separate that data. So if I right click on the top of any column, I can insert a column. You want to insert them to the right. So I'm going to insert a couple columns actually, because there's a lot of data right here. And if I take this column and I want to separate it into text, I'm going to go into the data. And do you see where it says split text into columns? If I click on that, it gives me it asks me how I want to separate it. Do I want to separate it by a space, by a period, by a comma, or do I want it to try to detect it itself? And don't think, I can't see. The @ is not a choice. Now I can tell you if I choose a period, it's going to put it into 2 columns, a lot of this, because it's gonna, if you look at row 8, there's 1, 2, 3 periods in this. This one in row 7 has 1, 2, 3 also. So I don't have enough columns here. If I try to do that using a period, it actually now covers up my date of birth column. It disappears. And I'm like, uh-oh, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit the undo button. So maybe I need to I'm going to add one more to the right. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to select my column again. I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to split it into columns, and I'm going to split it by period. And now each of those pieces of information are in a different column. I really like to use this, especially when you get things that are last name, comma, first name, or sometimes people give them to you first name, last name, all in the same one, and you want to split it. I love this text to columns. So just going to undo that. Made my life extremely easy when they added this function into Google Sheets, because before that it was not pretty. Another thing as a teacher that you may want to do is you may be given a sheet of your students, and maybe you want to make this a checkbox. If I choose column A and I right click and I'm going to insert a column to the left, you need to have a blank column. If you do not have a blank column, it's going to overwrite the information that you have in there. If you go up to the insert column, you now have a choice to insert checkboxes. This is automatically done for you. You can print this out, or you can go in and you can start checking off boxes of who attended what and if they were here that day. This is really nice. This is something that they added a few years ago that I absolutely love. We use this for Tech in the EO, and we were actually checking people off when they signed out, because there was a sign out sheet on a piece of paper. So to keep it digitally, I went back and put a check mark next to every person's name that signed out, that had signed into Tech in the EO.
Cheryl asks, can you import a list of names to this sheet?
Absolutely. Where are you thinking about importing it from? Because it may automatically make the sheet for you. just as a thought.
Classroom or gradebook?
Gradebook already puts it in an Excel sheet for you if you want. Just in Google Classroom. And Progress Book will download into an Excel sheet also.
Yeah, I'm thinking not only attendance, but like who turned in what or things like that. That might be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Or field trip stuff.
Good point.
Yep. So this is a nice little checkbox that you can use. It's very, very convenient. It used to be harder to get to, but I love that they just now make it just, you just click on checkbox. Boop, there it is. Making your life easier. That's what we're trying to do. Let's see. I want to go ahead and go to graphing if that's okay. Nobody has any problems with that? I'm hoping not. Oh, yeah, where am I at? Oh, we want to go to the first functions page. So there's a couple things that I want to show you that make my life completely, I love it. I actually do all my budgeting for my personal use now in a Google Sheet because it just makes my life so much easier. If I go in and I have all these numbers right here and I select them and I want to add them, they have this little function button that you just hit the word sum and it will automatically add for you. If I hit my enter key, boom, it automatically adds it up. So if I hit the next column and I go to sum and it gives me those columns and I hit enter and it adds up. And I believe once you do the first couple, you just drag and boom, it will do them all. So it tries to be prescriptive for you and figure out what you're doing. So if you add the first two columns, now it's going to realize that your pattern is it wants you to add D, E, F, and G. You can do the same thing if you're adding this way. If you do the first two and you hit sum and I hit enter, and then I select the next row that I want the sum of and hit enter. If I then grab those two and I grab that little blue thing in the corner and I drag it down, it should do them all for me. So now they are all added and I didn't have to do a formula for every single one.
Hey,
Now
Tiff,
yes.
you don't even have to do two of them. You can do one and just drag it.
Can you do one? Because all of the things that I've been to, they always said just to do two to be safe, but you just can do one. Greg's the expert. I believe that. I believe everything he says. So if I now want to add them all up, I'm just going to hit sum and it's going to total it for me. And there's my answer. So one of the other little things that I like, if you see right here, I have these little, and if you look over at the formula, they're called spark lines. They're just really cool, like data trend. It's like a chart that they put in, a line graph for the trend that's happening over the month. So if you would just go into the, oops, I'm sorry, I'm still clicked in. Why am I still clicked? Couldn't get out of the box. If I click in any of these and then I hit the equal sign and I start to type the word spark line, you can see it shows up. All I have to do is click on it. And now I can say, I want the data, and I'm just going to click on the data from here. And if I drag it, you can see it turns orange. And then I'm going to hit my enter or return key. It creates a nice little line graph of what your budget or your banana, this happens to be bananas that were sold. It shows you in a line graph what that was like over a time period. So if this was a student's data in their, and I know it already does it for you in iStation, but if you had this in a spreadsheet and you wanted to just add a little spark line at the end of each one, that you can, so let's see if it'll do it over here. Let's see if Greg is right. I just had to do one. Look at that. Amazing. but anytime you want to do a formula, you're just going to hit the equal button and start to figure out what you want, or you select your data and you can go over to the function button. Now, sometimes as I need to know a count instead of adding things up or something like that. Like I need the count of the whole page. You can go in, and I like when I can hit count, and this is usually at the bottom of an Excel sheet. I don't think it can do it in Sheets Online. It will actually just count all the numbers for you on the page. I love that. Is there any other formulas, Greg, that would be good to know? I don't use a lot of functions, just so you know. I just use a lot of adding, subtracting, and things like that. He uses a bazillion of them.
I'm trying to think. I don't want to go too deep into this because this is kind of like an introduction to Sheets.
Right.
I'm trying to think, like, we don't have to do it now, but I know, like, let's say you have a Google Sheet with each individual student that you're sharing, and then you want to kind of put all that together into one. There's a feature called import range, which I like to use a lot, and I use it if anybody's listening that's involved in like after school, or I know summer school, we use it for attendance, kind of off of, instead of using it in progress book, but it's kind of neat. So let's say you have completely different Google Sheets, and I don't mean like tabs, but like individual sheets shared with individual people, and you want to pull it all together. You can kind of use the import to kind of see all that data from different students, like in one place. So you keep the data safe with who you're sharing it to, but then you can kind of look at all the different people at once. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of cool. That would be a good one. Maybe we'll do that on level 2 Google Sheets.
Yeah. No, other than SUM, counts, average is a good one too to use. You can automatically find the average for students. That might be a good one to show them.
Oh, so if this was their maybe their test score, and then you just wanted the average, it will give you the average score of all their tests. That'd be a good idea.
Cheryl wants to know, where is that key import range?
That's session 2.
That might have to be session 2. It's a little involved, so I might have to walk through that and take some time. I can show you off this one.
Okay, so the last part that I really like that this will do for you is this will create a chart, or a graph that you want. So if I select the data that I want, and then I go up to insert, and then I have a chart option, it should open. This one's going to be a bar graph, and it gives you the total. It gives me week 1 in January, week 2, week 3, week 4, and week 5. And these are all bananas for each month. So it even breaks it down. Now, my title up here is 1, 2, 3, 4, and I may not want that. So over here on the right, you have customize. You can actually go in and start clicking on each of these little carrots, and it will allow you to change maybe the name of your chart, and you would just put bananas. So now I know that these are bananas for January, February, and I would probably put the year up here too. January, February, March, April, May, and I can see that my sales are increasing. And then I can see each week sale, but what week was the biggest change? And it looks like week 3 in yellow is my biggest change. Now you can also go in and edit this, and you click the 3 dots, and I can maybe make these bars all the same color. I don't have to have the individual weeks broken down. I just think it looks nice for me to see this in an instant, and it's automatically created for you by Google.
Tiffany, Tony wants to know, can you change it to a line plot?
Can I change this? I can probably choose how I want that data to be seen. So if I go into edit chart, and over here in this drop down, if you want it to be a line chart, I would just click that. and it shows up. Now I can also take out, like maybe I don't want the total in there. I just want to see weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now there's weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can hover over them and take a look at them, where they were at. And you can see there's little, when you hover, the dots show up where each month was on the graph. So yeah, they're very easy to change the types of graphs that you want. So just make sure, and they try to make suggestions and be prescriptive for you. I probably would like this one. This is just me. I like the column charts, but I want to see each week maybe, or I would switch these two and put January, February, March, April, and May here, and then make the weeks over here, because you can change all of that over here in customizing. See, switch the rows and the columns. So now I have the months at the bottom and the weeks are inside each month. This is definitely something that I play with, and I love to get the chart to look how I want it to share it. But I love how easy it is to just go in and one click create a chart for you when you have that data inside there. So imagine if you have all your kids' data from iStation downloaded, you can make a graph like this, because iStation already gives it to you. You can just save it and it gives it to you in a chart exactly like this. So you can have each kid's name on here and then where they were each month and how much growth there was. Any questions on charts? These are simple charts. I really don't want to get into any more than a simple chart.
I don't see any right now.
Okie dokie. On the last page, just so you know, I actually gave you another practice sheet if anybody wanted to go out and play. You don't want to really ruin your own data. There's just another one in here. This was from a long time ago. I want to say like 2012. These were all the tech people that they were like, this is public data, you can use it. Most of these people don't even work there anymore, and these are their work addresses, so you don't have to worry about it, and you can play with this type of information to see what you would want to do with it. This was shared at OETC, at the State Ohio Technology Conference, so it's not anything that's not public information. But if we don't have any more questions, I might want to do the, I'm going to go back to the functions 2 page, if everybody's okay with that. And I'm going to add, I'm going to insert another column to the left. But again, it copies your information. You need to remember that. When you insert a column, it tries to copy what you did before. So I just hit delete, and when I was selected the column, and it deletes everything. So even if I went into row B and I hit delete on my keyboard, it's going to delete all the information in that whole column. So in our spreadsheet, you can actually create a drop-down list inside your spreadsheet. I don't really know if this would be this one. I gave you that information, but I really think that's more an advanced class, because that way people would go in and say you're looking for a name, and they would choose a name from a drop-down list and then go to the next one. So if you only wanted somebody to have certain choices in a column where they're not typing anything or giving you any information, that's why you would create a drop-down list. But I don't know if that's something that you guys would use right now, so I don't want to get you too confused. But I did give you the information on how to do that. So do we have any questions on anything anybody would like to do with a sheet?
Tracy says maybe somehow to make and rename a tab.
Oh, down at the bottom? So if you pick on your tab, any tab that you want, and I'm going to right click, you should be able to rename your tab and give your tab any name you want. The other thing that I love about tabs at the bottom is they're very movable. You can just slide them and put them in any order that you want for people to see them. So I can just grab a tab at the bottom and put them in the order that I would like. So that's another thing. And then, because when I go to add a sheet, like you can add tabs at the bottom, add a new sheet. So all your data that you want people to look at is in the same place. But when you hit add a new sheet, it adds on the end of wherever you were clicked. So if I was clicked on the filter tab and I hit add a sheet, it's going to add in between filter and sort. So just be aware that it's going to add a sheet wherever you're clicked, whatever tab you're clicked in. If I don't want this one, I'm just click on the down arrow and I can delete sheet 3 because I didn't need it.
Tony says, silly question, but how do I print to show all things in cells? Like when I want to print my lesson plans.
They're inside a cell. So is it in a sheet? If it's in a sheet, you should be able to. And here's another thing. If I select a certain area, and then I right click and you hit print, there should be a print somewhere. Or I hit command. Let's see. I should be able to do this. Maybe because I'm not. It should only print, and it's not. Let me remember. I know I'm doing this right. I just want to select. Do you guys see print?
Hit Command P, Tiff.
I did hit Command P after I selected,
Okay.
but it still gave me the whole sheet.
Yeah, look in the upper right-hand corner where it says print current sheet. There's a drop-down
Print current sheet.
at the top. Go up with your, there you go.
Right here?
Yep,
Oh, selected cells. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Greg.
you're welcome.
Tony says, when she uses text wrap, she can't see it when she prints.
So if she's using, so is it like, I'm trying to think. So if I do this, but I hit text wrap. So does it look like that now? Or if your words are stacked on top of each other, even if I go to print that, I should be able to, I can still see it. Sometimes I have to go and tweak my cells to make sure everything, you can see everything when I go to print it. I've never had that problem. Greg, have you ever had that problem when you wrap text, it's not printing?
No, but the one thing I'm thinking is maybe it's too wide for one sheet. Go to
Oh.
that other function sheet. That had a lot
It was
of-
the one,
lot
it
of
was
columns.
function, this one.
All right, and then go to print and let's walk through this. All right, so right now you have, if you look on the right-hand side, all those little current options, you have fit to width,
Mhm.
which means whenever you have a sheet, it's gonna put as many columns that have anything like formatting. So if you format the entire sheet, all those columns are gonna be like highlighted and ready to print. If you hit normal, let's see how it changes. So it's only gonna show you that amount of things on one page. So obviously that's not all the information. So you can change that in percentage. You can hit fit to width, which will fit all the columns within one sheet. If you go fit to height, it'll change all of the rows to fit one page, which can get, really teeny tiny. Not normally recommended, but let's say if you exit out of there and select some rows so we can kind of take a look. Why don't you just give us a few?
Those
These are
rows?
columns. Those are columns.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Few rows.
My bad. Okay.
That's good. All right, and then go to print again. Okay, so right now it's showing current sheet, but if we go up to the top and we go to those selected cells, okay, and then we go to our scale and change it like fit to width, you'd be able to see just those cells on that.
Yeah, I might want to only select these ones instead of
Yeah.
all these blank columns I have.
Exactly. So if you selected just those, they would appear bigger when you hit fit to width, and they would fit on the page a little bit better.
And that's all I have. So it actually
Mhm.
is going to print everything I selected.
Yeah.
Is there a way to select the print area?
That's what I just did. So if I go in and I select this area on my sheet that I want to print, if I go up and I hit the print button, it's going to show me everything. Greg said that if you hit this drop down, it will give you selected cells. Now it's only the information you selected to print in your spreadsheet. I'm still thinking that wrap text not fitting is a formatting issue.
Yeah,
for
it might
some
be.
reason,
It
like
might
how
just
you're right.
Mhm.
See this row, how it's smaller and I'm not wrapping the text. This stuff that's underneath here will not print. So if I select this area, I'm going to show you, for example, and you can see the emails are cut off. When I go to print this, I'm sorry, you can see the emails are now cut off because my cell is not large enough. But usually when I wrap the text, that's when I don't have a problem. So if I go in and I wrap this text, now when I select that area that I want to print, see how it wrapped those emails in the middle, and now I can see the whole thing. So that's the only thing that I can think of for that issue. But I love wrap text. I use it all the time because I don't want my columns to be really wide. So are there any other questions?
Tony said okay, and then Deborah Beal said that she is having internet issues, so she keeps getting kicked out.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that this recording is available as long as I don't have any problems uploading like I did the other day. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I'm just going to ask, oh, I'm going to go back. I'm sorry. I'm just going to ask you to make sure that you fill out the survey at the bottom of the agenda in the beautiful colors. If you haven't filled out any surveys for this week, the survey that is in there, that is just for this week from the 6th through the 9th. So when you go to the drop down box, it gives you all the classes that we offer just this week. Please take some time to fill it out because we're already setting up classes for items that people are asking for. So we're probably going to do a Zoom Remind class and how you're going to integrate it with your technology that you have. So if you're trying to do a Zoom and a Remind and you want to use National Geographic or Panorama or another piece of technology, how you're going to integrate those together. So that'll be after spring break. I don't know if there's any more questions. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you after break. Enjoy.